Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, good day to you. That's depending where you are in the world. I'm here live in London doing the nighttime devotion from the devotional Christ Triumphant by Ellen White. The title today, By Their Fruits. Matthew 7, verse 20. Wherefore by their fruits ye shall know them. When those who are in God's service resort to accusation, they are adopting Satan's principles to cast out Satan. It will never work. Satan will work. He's working upon human minds by his crooked principles. These will be adopted and acted upon by those who claim to be loyal and true to God's government. How shall we know that they are untrue and disloyal? By their fruits ye shall know them. The Lord saw the use that Satan was making of his power, and he set before him truth in contrast with falsehood. Time and again during the controversy, Satan was ready to be convinced, ready to admit that he was wrong. But those who he had deceived were ready to accuse him of leaving them. What could he do? Submit to God or continue in a course of deception? He chose to deny truth, to take refuge in misstatements and fraud. The Lord allowed Satan to go on and demonstrate his principles. God did establish himself, and he carried the world's unfallen and the heavenly universe with him, but at a terrible cost. His only begotten Son was given up as Satan's victim. The Lord Jesus the Christ revealed a character entirely opposite to that of Satan. As the high priest laid off his gorgeous pontifical robes and officiated in the white linen dress of a common priest, so Christ emptied himself and took the form of a servant and offered sacrifice, himself the priest, himself the victim. By causing the death of the sovereign of heaven, Satan defeated his own purposes. The death of the Son of God made the death of Satan unavoidable. Satan was allowed to go on until his administration was laid open before the world's unfallen and before the heavenly universe. By shedding the blood of the Son of God, he uprooted himself from sympathy and was seen by all to be a liar, a thief, and a murderer. God sees that the same course of action is being pursued the world over. Men and women come to the place where the road diverges. It is either right or wrong. Thousands upon thousands clothe themselves in what they suppose to be an impenetrable disguise and choose the wrong. God does not force anyone. He leaves all free to choose. But he says, by their fruits ye shall know them. The Lord will not write as wise those who cannot distinguish between a tree that bears thornberries and a tree that bears olives. By their fruits. So it's saying God allowed Satan to play himself out. He knew the end game. He allowed Satan to do what he was required to do because ultimately, by playing the way he did, he gained the sympathy. He didn't. He didn't gain the sympathy, sorry. By doing the way he did, the sympathy went to God because Jesus gave himself up totally innocent, totally sinless, a total self sacrifice. And when I say everyone, I'm not saying in this world, but everyone else in the other worlds and heaven, when they saw what Satan did to such a sinless, innocent, beautiful being as Jesus is, that is when they could see Satan for his true colors. Why? Who and why would he do that? There's absolute, just like Pilate said, I see nothing wrong with this man, but he washed his hands, he didn't make a decision. But in not making a decision, he made that decision. If you don't stand for God, you stand for whatever else, which is Satan. Satan totally, basically, God allowed all the rope Satan needed to ultimately hang himself. And he did. By causing the death of the sovereign of heaven, Satan defeated his own purposes. This death of the Son of God made the death of Satan unavoidable. By shedding the blood of the Son of God, he uprooted himself from sympathy. No one sympathized with him, and was seen by all to be a liar, a thief, and a murderer. They were his fruits. Everyone could see the fruits of who Satan really is. And God allows us, humans, men and women, children, to do the same thing. He puts the path out in front of us. He gives us all the information we need in the Bible, in the Old Testament, the New Testament, the parables, the prophecies. He gives us everything. Prophets, teachers, testimonies. And we come to a road where we come to the road where it diverges. And it's not either go right or left, but it's either go right or wrong. And God does not force us in any way to do anything that we do not want to do. We must choose to follow Him and choose His path and His way. And as it sums it up in the end, by their fruits you shall know them. God will not write as wise those who cannot distinguish between a tree that bears thornberries and a tree that bears olives. Which are you going to be, a tree that bears thornberries or a tree that bears olives?